My Lord, it's a pleasure to follow Lord Lucas and to associate myself with his remarks. I rise to speak to the Amendment 47C on behalf of my colleague, the Noble Prelate, the Bishop of Manchester, in whose name the amendment stands, and who very much regrets his inability to attend today's committee stage. The Bishop of Manchester's amendment offers a reasonable and practical solution to the finely balanced tension between freedom and regulation in education provided by religious bodies. As things stand, the proposed bill would recognise two types of full-time education. Education will be undertaken in either a school or an independent educational institution. The latter would need to be registered according to the 2008 Act, and the requirement to register would apply to education that is more than, in quotes, part-time. The need to include education provided by religious bodies in national mechanisms for oversight is well understood by all. The Church of England, for example, has taken enormous strides forward in both safeguarding training and safeguarding processes in local parishes that welcome an average of 95,000 children each week in 2023. So we welcome the government's goal to strengthen educational oversight across the nation. But in relation to education provided by religious bodies, there are three issues with the bill as it stands. First, as the National Society for Education wrote in its response to the government on safeguarding in and out of school settings, compulsory state registration for religious activity involving children would significantly extend the role of the state in civil society and represents a considerable and major change to the nature of religious freedom. Freedom of religion and belief is a precious human liberty, and legislators should think very carefully about the unintended consequences as well as the intended ones before enacting regulations that might inadvertently threaten that freedom and inhibit religious diversity. The possibility of unintended consequences brings me to my second point. There is the risk that imposing extra bureaucratic burdens on many volunteer-run out-of-school settings would have an unintended chilling effect. Those unintended consequences might easily follow from a new burden to tot up religious educational activities like choir practice for fear of exceeding the part-time hours below which registration is not required. This is to say nothing of the practicalities of securely and safely holding all of the personally identifiable data that registration and keeping details current would impose on the government as well as the religious educational institution. Thirdly and finally, my lords, there are the difficult edge cases like yeshivas that don't quite fit any of the categories the present bill proposes. No one disputes that such out-of-school cases demand adequate scrutiny to ensure that children are being educated both broadly and safely, in addition to any religious component of their education. And this brings me to the Bishop of Manchester's proposed amendment. It offers a balanced and proportional route forward by ensuring that where a setting like a yeshiva limits itself only to religious education, and the local authority has been clearly notified that an attendee has suitable out-of-school education separately and with sufficient time set aside to allow children to receive that broader education, and the provider of that religious education, such as a yeshiva, demonstrates to the local authority that it provides the required safeguarding measures, the provisions of the bill can be met. I commend the amendment to the Minister and to the House.